Do you play instruments?
Barely.
Do you know how to work a soundboard?
No. I have no technical ability.
So what are you being paid for?
The confidence that I have in my taste and my ability to express what I feel.
Howdy y'all, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys are safe and I hope you guys are healthy. My name is Josh and I absolutely love clothing and personal style. So if you're into that type of content, feel free to subscribe to me here on YouTube as well as follow me on Instagram at where's_Galdo. I don't know if you guys caught my video 2 videos ago where I was talking about Demna leaving Balenciaga to become creative director of Gucci, but that is kind of the most hyped example of something that happens pretty often within the fashion world. But in 2025, a lot is changing for the fashion world because there are a lot of creative directors practically playing musical chairs and going into other brands, becoming creative directors, which could potentially pose a very, very big change within like the whole fashion landscape. If you're into luxury fashion, high fashion, I like to pay attention from time to time. I'm not all that well versed in high fashion and luxury stuff, but I do like to keep up with the news as much as I can. Just as a couple of examples of creative directors kind of switching roles or doing different things, people like Luis Trotter is going to be creative director of Bottega Veneta. Alessandro Michele will now be creative director of Valentino. If you remember that name, Alessandro Michele used to be creative director of Gucci for a time. John Galliano is now leaving Maison Margiela. Kim Jones is leaving Fendi. Eddie Slimane, a really big name in fashion, Eddie Slimane is leaving Celine, and Michael Ryder is going to be the new creative director. We have Hyder Ackerman, Hyder Ackerman now going to be creative director of Tom Ford. We have Dries Van Noten that's leaving his own brand, and Julian Klausner is going to be creative director of Dries Van Noten. We also have Peter Doe leaving Helmut Lang. There's just a lot of changes going on. But as complex and complicated as creative directors and like their positions are and change, I wanted to go ahead and bring it back down to the bare bones and talk about exactly what a creative director does, because a lot of people know the term and position of creative director, but I feel like not a lot of people know exactly the responsibilities that they carry when they take on this position. The creative director title is pretty self-explanatory for the most part, but I think it over-encompasses and undermines a lot of the things and the little nuances that they do take care of. Creative directors are in charge of doing everything necessary to achieve their artistic vision. Creative directors are tasked with the guidance of the entire brand and brand image. Think of them as project managers, but there's a lot of projects going on, so they're like very heavily multitasking a lot of different working parts, hopefully to end up with a cohesive either design language or presentation or marketing. There's a lot of different things that creative directors are kind of overseeing and supervisors for. And like I was saying earlier, not just fashion companies have creative directors. A lot of like just regular companies that provide products have creative directors. Like, I think a really infamous one was Lady Gaga becoming creative director of Polaroid back in like 2010 or something, where Kanye West famously was like, what does Gaga know about cameras? And I tend to agree with that one, but also Big Sean, the rapper, was creative director for the Detroit Pistons. So it's not just exclusive to clothing and fashion. So the interesting thing is that creative directors have surged in terms of attention as social media marketing has boomed as a vital asset that businesses can use to grow. Having a big name celebrity or a really like successful designer can attract attention to the brand simply by name alone. Creative directors are oftentimes credited for a brand's success, saying that their artistic direction is oftentimes what drives a brand upward, but at the same time blamed for when things don't go so well for a brand. What I find absolutely fascinating in terms of like the creative director position is that they may not necessarily be the person doing the designing. They may have the ideas, the like core ideas of a collection or a brand, propose them to the different teams that they have at their disposal, create cohesive imagery or theming that they want to embody the work, manage marketing campaigns, delegate tasks to teams so that they can get the work done that the creative director can't do alone. By no means is it an easy task, but a good creative director can make or break a brand or company. As much as this video is primarily about creative directors and their role in things, I definitely didn't want to only keep the spotlight on creative directors themselves. There are a lot of people that are involved in the process of making whatever it is that they're making for the brand, that the brand itself and company matter a lot, because that defines the amount of resources that a creative director has at their disposal to be able to create an artistic idea to its fullest extent. So obviously fashion luxury houses will have everything from design teams, pattern cutters, factory connections, photographers, stylists, and most importantly, ample funding to make every idea come true to or make every idea physical to its fullest extent. So let's go ahead and take it out of the context of billion-dollar luxury brands and talk about smaller brands. Small brands oftentimes don't have the same capabilities because of lack of resources and funding. So creative directors and anyone else that works for smaller brands make do with what they have available at their disposal, and potentially wear many different hats, fill many different roles to bring their ideas to life. Now, when people claim themselves to be creative directors of small brands or brands that they start or companies that they have started, they're not wrong to say that they are a creative director. But I think it's almost arrogant to say and give yourself the title of creative director of something that you have already created. I think it's a little bit more respectable when another brand basically appoints you as creative director of their brand, because they trust your vision and want it to pan out and want it to come to life via their brand. That is where I'm looking for the words. That is where the prestigiousness of being a creative director comes from, in my opinion. When other people want you to see your vision through their brand. And that's why I think being a creative director is such a cool position. Now, there are other instances where creative directors are a little bit more for the publicity of things, like celebrity creative directors, like Pharrell Williams. Pharrell Williams, as a music artist and creative as a whole, does really good work, in my opinion. He's made brands and worked with brands, worked with Nigo, and made a brand. I think Billionaire Boys Club is his brand. I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate, so correct me if I'm wrong. But those were successful in their own right, but being appointed as creative director to Louis Vuitton, a fully vetted, one of the highest end luxury things, I mean, at least as far as title goes, Louis Vuitton is pretty up there in terms of the luxury space. Being titled creative director of something like Louis Vuitton is a far cry from claiming to be creative director of a startup t-shirt brand. That's not to say that small t-shirt brands can't really go anywhere big or be successful. There have been many instances where t-shirt brands have been wildly successful, but this is just for this example. If you are boisterous enough and vain enough to think that you can give yourself the title of creative director, that's when I think you're focusing on the wrong thing. That's when it becomes cringe. When you're focused more on the title than the art, that's when I think the title of creative director becomes something that isn't as nice to hear. A good creative director brings unique perspective, developed ideas, understands the processes needed to execute their ideas to the fullest extent, utilizes resources available to them, and is ultimately a leader. That's going to be the biggest takeaway, I think, from this video, is that creative directors are leaders, and a better leader or manager, or whatever you want to call them, makes for a better product in the end. And that is what a creative director does. And at the very tail end of this video, I did want to make it very apparent that I am no expert. I'm not educated in this subject at all. This is just me gathering information pretty much on the internet, just what exactly a creative director does. But in my mind and in my opinion, this is what happens. If I'm wrong, feel free to put that in the comments down below. I'd love to see different perspectives and different opinions and expand my knowledge base through you guys. So I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.